Welcome to the parish of Chandler's Ford and the 4 p.m. service. This is the second in our series on loss as we journey through Lent together. Today we're joined by the fantastic Jacques and Vicky Lent, who are going to be sharing their story about loss, particularly the loss of a dream, childlessness and infertility. I wonder, just as we start off, for those of us who don't know you, do you want to just introduce who you are?
Okay, I'm Vicky Lent, and what do I say? I was going to tell you how old I was, but that might not be what I want to share.
You're the right age.
Yes, I'm the right age.
I'm Jacques, originally South African, still South African in some ways. Lived in Ireland for a number of years with Vicky. Vicky's Irish, English as well, more English. And I work in the Ordnance Survey in procurement.
And I work in Southampton City Council as a social worker for the adoption team.
Fantastic.
And we've been married since 2002.
So, how did you two meet?
Well, the reason we paused there is we have 2 wedding dates. So there's a wedding date in 2003 and one in 2002. So I always have to kind of work out which is which. Not that we got divorced in between.
You just wanted to?
We just wanted to get married twice, yeah. So how did we meet? I was volunteering in South Africa after 2 years in practice as a social worker. I'd always wanted to be part of the Rainbow Nation and all that was exciting about that. So I finally got the chance to work with the Amos Trust. I don't know if some of you have heard of that. Garth Hewitt would be the minister who's involved in that. So I discovered the book his son had written, Tom Hewitt, about street kids in Durban, and off I went for the year. And halfway through, as you do, go to a New Year's beach party with Christian friends. I met Jacques through his twin brother, who was a friend of a friend. And despite thinking he was quite rude for the first little while, we got talking on a 6-hour car journey to Joburg, which you have to do because you're stuck in a car together for 6 hours. And it kind of started from there. Jacques made it very clear that he was going to make it his business to come down and see me fairly regularly. To which I think the first time you said you were going to pick me up for breakfast the next day, this was only at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. You said, I'll be there at about 6:30. And I said, oh, you will you? 8:30. I said, oh, you will you? In my usual defiant way. And he did. He turned up and
Drove 6 hours down that night.
He did. He did regular trips down to see. Long driving, long distance relationship. We were engaged after 4 visits in April.
4 months.
4 months, yeah. Only 4 visits with each other. Loads of phone conversations, but only seeing each other 4 times. And we were married by May 24th. So it was whirlwind to beat the band, I think. My family my mum and dad had met you one evening before they left, having visited me over Easter for 2 weeks. We hadn't gotten engaged by then. I'd met your family, obviously. So yeah, it was quite a whirlwind. We were back in Ireland by July, so within the 6 months we were back in Dublin. Well, I was back in Dublin, you were in Dublin for the first time. And it all kind of went a bit crazy after that.
Well, a whirlwind start to a marriage, sounds very romantic, these 6-hour car journeys to see you. So married life must have been fantastic, nice and straightforward.
No.
I think we were obviously very much in love, and we got married on the 24th of May. That was the first wedding, and we said we're going to act as though we were engaged, but that didn't quite work out. But what happened was, I suppose the first thing that happened was when the day I left, I packed up my life into a suitcase to go to a new country, to a new wife, a new family and all that kind of thing, and leaving the world I know behind.
His grandparents got into a car crash, and so about 5 hours before he had to get on the plane, he had to drive, the South Africans will understand, an hour and a half back to Clarkstorp to see if they'd survived. Now his grandparents are actually Jacques' parents. They adopted him So that was his journey. I hadn't been able to contact you for about 24 hours, so I was starting to think, oh dear, is he going to get on this plane? Has he done a runner? But then we discovered that it was actually your grandparents. So Jacques arrived in a bit of a cloud of trauma, I think, very distressed. Opa, whose granddad had literally said, get on the plane, you have to go, this is your new life, it'll be fine, we're fine.
Yeah, and that was obviously a trauma for me. Because he was lying on a stretcher full of blood when he said it.
So moving on, we have been married quite a long time, so it was tough. Yeah, so we moved in with my family, not a good idea, and we tried to get work, and I worked. So really, in a nutshell, the first 3 years were a massive adjustment. All the things you do when you date, we did as newly married couples, and I know I had a moment about a year, and I thought, gosh, if I was still just dating this guy, would I actually want to be married to him? And I kind of realised, well, I don't really have that choice anymore because I am married to him. So we had a lot of really tough moments. You did not like Ireland. It took you 3 years to really actually adjust. It was just really tough on many levels. Lots of job issues because South Africa is not like Ireland. We bought 2 houses in that time. We lost jobs. We lived far from my support network. Another really daft decision. When we bought houses, we moved away from my oldest friends and our church support and started going to new churches. So a lot of things happened that in hindsight we think, God, why didn't you cloud, big bolt of lightning tell us don't do this? But each step of the way we thought we were making decisions that we felt God was saying go ahead. And yet every decision seemed to just make life incredibly tough for us. Jacques also spent the first 9 years of our marriage studying 2 degrees at night while working full time. So really, I suppose it was a tough marriage in the sense of we did have some extreme points where we thought life might have been so much easier if we would actually just married someone else. And then we had a country in between that, cultures. You had a family you'd lost. I had a family I wasn't close to physically. So yeah, it wasn't great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't great. So playing it down somewhat, I'm sure. So amongst that, your kind of really hard time adjusting to a new life together, being early married with the jobs not being great, and all that, then you kind of, as often married couples do, you got to the point of thinking, well, let's think about a family, and that started you on a whole new journey.
Yeah, so it was about 5 years in, and we just bought our second house and thought, right, family home, start afresh. You'd a new job, we'd a new house. So we started trying, and it just didn't happen for us. I mean, I wasn't old. I was probably the average age of most women when they start trying. So in short, we then really spent the next decade of our lives not conceiving at all, one little bit. So yeah, so we just launched into after a lot of difficulties, maybe just about reaching a plateau point, we moved into our new house, lost an income, got an income back after a year, and then discovered we were heading down the infertility road. So that kind of hit us as really a really hard swing after the end of a lot of very challenging issues in a still relatively young marriage.
And so how was that journey for you guys? Do you want to each share or?
I don't even know if you can put words on it. It was a journey of many years. I don't think you could say there are any good points in it really. We decided against IVF for various reasons. It was tough in the sense of, as individuals, it was earth-shattering. As a woman, it was a really, really difficult thing to go through. All our friends were having babies left, right and centre, and it passed us by every single time. I think, I'm trying to just keep to the point, maritally it was difficult. I think it's probably the worst thing is it's an incredibly lonely time. It's something people don't talk about. It's something that people don't talk about even with their closest friends, because to be honest, when they're popping out their first or their second and you're still banging on about not. It's a really difficult thing to talk about people who actually have no concept. My friend stopped telling me she was worried she wasn't getting pregnant on the second month because she kind of realised she was freaking out at 2 months of not getting pregnant, and I'd been trying for 2 years. So it really puts a very strong wedge between you and other people, and that's very hard. And these are Christians, you know, and I think within your marriage it isolates you. There's blame. There you try not to have blame. There's a process of grieving that you have to work out individually and as a couple. So in every way it was a challenge, and we didn't have anything to pin our infertility on either, so there was always a bit of an open door. So I suppose from a faith perspective, it was probably just chronic disappointment with God. It was something that he could have dealt with in a split second. He could have just said, off you go, you know, there's your conception. It was totally within the non-miraculous world of things that God can do, and he just never chose to do that for us.
And I think I became very, you know, obviously for us, we kind of, you know, you had this feeling as a couple of pulling together and pulling apart, pushing apart and together and apart all the time, as we were both going through this together, but also each on our own. And I think in terms of the support network, that was really difficult for me as a guy, because I'm not going to say, I'm not very talkative, but I am a talker, and I just couldn't, you know, I was having a conversation with my best friend at the time, and you can just see in his eyes, obviously he's, you know, he felt for me, but he didn't understand it, because I think they had probably that conversation, they had 2 kids by then. And, you know, we wanted to wish people well, and I remember one Sunday we went to church and there was a baptism of 3 babies. And we just, when we realized that was coming together and the service started, we just walked out. We couldn't be there. And that was, you know, a little while before, you know, we started the adoption of our son, Nathan.
So even the places where you're meant to seek support and feel strength from were a challenge, I think. Yeah.
So how did you keep going in your faith? What kind of kept you going? What kind of kept you focused on God in that?
I think I hung in because I was really angry with him. I think if I actually hadn't been angry, I might have just walked out the door. I was steaming angry for probably many years. It's funny, kind of ambivalent relationship in that sometimes I was angry, shouting, crying, having an argument with someone who was very real to me. And then other times there would be solace in, there was one song I would play over and over again. It was a Christian song written by a lady, and it was a song for her sons. And I'd play that. Or I read avidly any Christian book on infertility or the pathway to adoption. I just have a library at home. That kept me going. Odd moments of prayer from people, but it was very much a silent thing for me. I did go for counselling with a Christian a couple of times, but I didn't seek the support I wish now I had from counsellors or from friends even. It was very much an internal thing, but it was, I was hanging on by my nails most of the time with God. And I had come from a huge place of strength in my relationship. I'd gone to Africa to work for him in a Christian agency. I'd been a Christian all my life. I had had a very strong and real relationship with God. So the realness continued, but there was anger and disappointment that was probably toxic on some levels.
Yeah, I think for me, similarly, and I was very angry with God, wrestling with God and pushing God away, and because of my history I had a very certain idea of what I wanted my life to be, and it just wasn't going that way, so I was very, very angry with God, and something I felt like I was in a gorge or a canyon and shouting, and all I could hear was my echo, but I could never get away from the thought that God is real, and that literally, those 3 words just kept coming to me over and over. and I didn't, sometimes in terms of God, I felt like a distant memory of somebody I'd met years ago. That's how far away he felt, but I couldn't get away from the fact that God is real. So, for me, certainly in my walk, that I've learned that faith is not a feeling. God is always there, God is consistent regardless of what we feel. So that was my dark times as well. But I think for us as well, we stayed together, we kept going. Yeah, sometimes we were on a balancing rope, but we were there together. But we kept going. So I think through that dark time, it was really long. It felt really, really long, years and years. But for us, it probably felt a lifetime in terms of how long it was.
And you've shared that now you've got a son, Nathan. Can you tell us, how did he come into your life? Again, that wasn't a straightforward story again, is it?
Yeah, I mean, Nathan's adopted.
Can you tell?
Can you tell? Yeah, we're kind of a bit of a walking advertisement for adoption. So yeah, that was a long journey. So within that IVF journey, where we always hoped for our own birth child, even though we were on an adoption course at the same time, his adoption took 4 years. So for couples that don't like waiting, where neither of us are good at waiting, we're not patient people, we're not these calm, serene types. God has just slammed waiting at us every single time something's come up. Even coming here took us a year and a half of waiting to get a job, of many attempts to get a job. So waiting seems to be God's theme for us. He seems to want to drill that message into us, and we're still learning it. But yeah, it took us 4 years. Most of that was the Irish slowness and process slowness. And it's funny how I think, thinking about this, I've thought we hung on with our fingernails to our faith, and yet we've done crazy things in that we actually travelled to Ethiopia without a referral, hoping to be referred a child. So we stepped out into faith, in ways that maybe other people wouldn't, and we turned up to the country, booked tickets, got someone who was a helper, and he introduced us to 2 homes, and one of them gave us a referral. So in that sense, we've kind of, God surprised us time and again, and the point at which we chose Ethiopia, having waited 9 months for South Africa to come through, and it didn't come through, as a country that we could work with. After that 9 months of waiting, we went to Ethiopia, and then it all happened very quickly. But yeah, the process to Nathan, really, he came into our lives when he was born when I was 37, and we brought him home when I was 38, 38 and a half. So yeah.
I love that when we talked before, you shared with me what Nathan's name means.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit of that and how Nathan's brought some sense of healing to you guys?
So we didn't give Nathan his Ethiopian name. His Ethiopian name is Yagaramu. We did trial that for the 3 months between meeting him and going back to Ethiopia for the court. We did introduce him as, here's our son Yagaramu, and everyone would go, oh, he's lovely. But they wouldn't.
What's his name?
What's his name? They wouldn't say his name. And then I also realised it could be shortened for Jaeger, which is, I think, a beer. And we're like, do you know what? No. So it's his middle name, and it means it's not really a name, it's a phrase, it's an expression. So it's when you meet him, you'll be amazed at his story. So that was the name he was given. And before we even knew about him, we'd chosen the name Nathan, which means gift from God. So he is amazing. He is our son. We are deeply proud of him, and this is where I get all emotional. But adoption, I just would have to say, it doesn't heal the birth child loss. It doesn't go there in the sense of we are parents and we are blessed beyond measure, but it doesn't actually nullify the lack of a birth child. So.
I wasn't originally going to say this, but I felt just that I'd share I think when I met Nathan, everything came together for me when I saw him. And I realized at that moment, but also afterwards, how things have come together. In that my journey is I was obviously South African, and I was raised in apartheid South Africa to be racist, basically, to put it plainly. I was raised to be racist. So I had huge worries and concern that I would love this boy. I was very, very worried about that, but obviously here we are, and I love him deeply with every fibre of my being. So I think, God he definitely works in mysterious ways, and our life hasn't been at all how we would imagine it. But here we are, and 15 years of marriage, I still love my wife deeply, and I'm incredibly proud of my son, and he's a beautiful little boy, and he is a gift from God.
So, thank you so much. You've been so honest and open. What would be one lesson or one tip you give to someone if they're just going through a real time of despair, of being out? How do you hold on to God when things around seem not to be going right at all?
I think in many ways, our experience has been that, as I was saying, faith is not a feeling, but God is always faithful and God never changes. So for many years, we didn't see what the work He was doing and how He was, in fact, protecting us and guiding us. We only realized that afterwards, and sometimes many years afterwards. We didn't understand why we were going through it, or why me and why us, and can't you just give us a break? Everybody has dreams. Can't we have a dream? But He's been faithful. He's been faithful all the way. We didn't see it then, but we see it now. So, certainly what I would say is that even if you're not feeling Him or feeling like life is going right, He doesn't change. His love for us doesn't change. His promises definitely do not change. And sometimes it's incredibly difficult, but take that next step and keep going.
And I think for me, it's that you don't have to have a kind of an agreeable relationship with God all the time. So you can believe in all of those while at the same time believing the opposite, in the sense of you can believe God's faithful, and yet within the same day you can have moments of deep anger and disappointment with God, and they can coexist within a day, within an hour, and that's okay. And it's okay to be disappointed with God, and it's okay to actually never know if healing might come for that. But it may be something that you always have to just know that this was actually part of my story life, and that's okay. But there'll be other things that come up from it that are just tremendously amazing. But it doesn't mean that has gone. It's still part of your story. It's still a hurt. It's still something that needs to be healed. But it doesn't mean that there isn't also good from it. So I think what I'd say is, don't think that Christianity is this neat little thing that comes in a box and we're meant to be happy and smiley, because we're not. And it's messy and it's really ugly sometimes, and we're ugly and we're messy, and that's okay, because that's actually the road and the life we're meant to live, and we just have to bear with it, with God, really. And fingernail faith is good enough sometimes.